You're on to Eagles Outlook on your radio experience. You can count on Eagles 102.3. And this morning we have one of the most vocal presidential candidates in the country at the moment, one of those who, prides himself to have stood tall amongst the many that contested in 2019. He's again in the race in 2023, and this time around he says there's no going back. OMOYELE, human rights activist and presidential candidate of the Africa Action Congress, is joining us. Do I call you comrade? Or do I just say, Shore, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for bringing me.
And let's start from the background. You're the publisher of a newspaper, online news platform, and over time, people have wondered why would a person who had succeeded in this area just come back, leave the U.S., come back home, and want to get in this rougher fight with the politicians in the country. What happened? Why did you decide to make that move?
I mean, publication of SOWORE reporters is probably the most reportable thing you can do because you're up against very powerful interests. But I came back because I realized that since 2015, 2016, the best publications in the world cannot change the objective condition of our populace. Only good people in government can do that. So I opted to be one of the good people who really would like to see this country change because I believe the country should be doing way better than it has been doing since I was born and before I was born. So that's what brought me home. And for me, home will always be home, no matter how long and how well you do in the diaspora or in another person's country. You cannot be that whole person except you have a home to call your own.
Well, the campaigns kick off next week.
Yes.
And that's everybody's waiting for next week, the 28th of September. How prepared are you, for this round of campaigns? We saw earlier that you posted on social media appealing for funds, for your campaigns.
Yes.
How's that coming?
Well, it's been coming very well, but quite slowly. Reason is that the world has and a lot of people are just recovering now, and our country has been through recession. If we have been perpetual recession anyway, economically, so a lot of our citizens are just struggling. The way that I raised funds in 2019 was that I had the opportunity to travel around the world, meet Nigerians everywhere, and that helped a lot. This time around, my passport has been seized by the current regime, and I cannot even leave the country. In fact, until about 2 months ago, I could not leave Abuja. I couldn't a court order. So the appeal, we keep appealing to people, and we just wanted to own the process. And this is one of the most innovative and transparent things we did to campaigning in the election cycle since 2018. We raised over 200 million naira in 2018, and that helped a lot. That enabled me to travel to over 35 states, and sometimes twice. Some of the most difficult terrains that Nigeria had, I traveled in those days. I traveled by air, land, and in some cases by water to get to campaign all over Nigeria. So, yeah, I will keep appealing because I'm one of the few candidates that are really ready. I feel like I was born ready, and also the message that I have needs to reach every nook and cranny of the country. Sadly, it is those people who have no messages or who have no capacity to do the rigorous campaigning that have all the money in the world, money they didn't work for.
When you say money that you didn't work for, when you posted that campaign, a lot of people came for you and say, "Oh, sorry, you always enrich yourself. You post this to enrich yourself every election cycle, and after the elections, you just go away. You go away richer than you came in." How do you respond to that?
I came away poorer than I came in. My first time contesting was in 2019. That was in February. By the time it was July, I went briefly back to the US and came back in July. And by August, I'd been arrested and detained. So how could I be rich fighting the most powerful, richest people in the world? They're based in this country. The people we are up against. And you cannot, honestly, if you're honestly doing campaigning based on issues and you're not stealing public funds, you will always need support from the public to run a successful campaign. It doesn't matter whether you're running for a councillor or the presidency of the country. Even in the US, Obama had to rely on the public. That's how they raise their own funds. And it is the best way to do politics in which people own part of the process of politicking. But as you know, if I wanted to be rich, I won't be asking for support on social media. You're just going to meet godfathers and they'll throw their treasuries open to you. But our conscience will not let us be part of that. So we're coming here to say to you, listen, we got the ideas, but unfortunately we don't have the funds.
Now, speaking of issue-based campaigns, what issues is your campaign going to be based on, and how do you hope to convince Nigerians to vote for you? As in the big party, you need some people actually refer to parties like yours as smaller parties. How does that make you feel?
No, there are no small parties. Every party that's got a great idea is a big party, because parties are not supposed to be organizations that operate on the basis of the size of their offices. It's supposed to be over the ideas, the size of ideas, their manifestos, and their relevance to social political issues in the country. So we don't see ourselves as a small party. All of us are registered the same way. We operate the same way, but the way we are different is that we actually do have ideas to sell to the public, the Nigerian populace. And these ideas revolve around how to survive, beyond 2023, because Nigeria is on the tipping level right now. But ours is to secure this country, to give to our people power, energy, invest heavily in education, agriculture, make sure they don't go hungry, as they have been going hungry. Fix the economy. When I say fix the economy, is to take the economy away from the buccaneers who have seized the economy. By 2015, Oxfam, an international organization based in the UK, released an alarming statement that 100 million Nigerians are poorer than 5 Nigerians. That is to say, 5 Nigerians have more money than 100 million Nigerians. That means that all the wealth that we've had is concentrated in the hands of a few people. And those are the people who control the political lever in the country. They're the ones who are in charge of employment, they control the economy. So you're basically living as a tenant in your country who can be suppressed or ejected at the will of the owners of Nigeria. So our desire, saying this categorically, hopefully you hear it, is to take back our country.
Now, when you say take back our country from them, people say you were the one. You're one of the people who campaigned for this administration.
Force.
In 2014, 2015, they say you brought in this administration, and now you're just disgruntled because you were not carried along, in the scheme of things.
Not true.
How so?
You're a journalist. You can't just go on air and make false allegations. Because I'm a journalist too. What I have done my entire life, for 3 decades now, is always fight against bad governance, fight against corruption, and this documented. So people just wake up when they are defeated in an election, they're looking for excuses, they're looking for who to blame for it. And unfortunately, you guys in the media always get blamed for everything in the country, but then you turn around and blame innocent people too. There was a time that Twitter was blamed for the economic problems afflicting Nigeria, security problem afflicting Nigeria. It was blamed for pretty much everything that they shut down Twitter. So I take responsibility for my actions, but I would not let the journalists in the country just repeat lies told by political parties or individuals against people like me. I understand that I'm in the business of offending people. And people feel like, it's justified to offend and lie against you because that's the taste of his own medicine. But that doesn't make it justified.
Anyway, you say you didn't campaign for the.
You're
not a supporter of Buhari in any way. Not a Buhari supporter.
I can challenge you any day, anywhere. That is not true. I've been challenging people for since 2015 when they started. In 2019, was I the one who brought Buhari to when I campaigned and contested against him? So in 2019, when I started revolution now against the government and I was arrested, did I bring him Buhari then? And if I could bring Buhari to power in 2015, if I was so powerful in 2015, I should have been able to bring myself to power in 2019 too, when I contested. So people make up all these stories because it suits their own political biases. Sometimes people just don't ask questions. They say, "Oh, sure." I hear that all the time. I even heard it from a major pastor in the country. I visited him. He said, "Oh, I heard you brought Buhari." I said, "Your congregation, you were campaigning for him." So, should I blame you for the corruption that happened under Jonathan? He said, "No, they have never even paid offering before in my church." So, people, these are people supposedly who are supposed to be educated, saying that to you. So when he found out that there is nothing like that, he was just like, "Oh my God!" And I've been going around saying this to even other pastors that show right. Let me tell you something. By 2015, most people don't even know how to pronounce my name. They know about Sahara reporters. So, but it's not widely known. And to just take you back a bit, Buhari had been getting his 12 million votes since 2003, when I wasn't in the country. The following election, he got 12 million votes. I started Sahara Reporters in 2006. Was I responsible for his 12 million votes in 2003 as well? So, like I said, people just make up all these stories. And how do you say, Father, forgive them?
Very well said. We'll bring in the callers in a bit. Join the conversation. Let's hear from you. What do you think about the SOWORE campaign in 2023? Now, ahead of 2023, the campaigns are around the corner. Young people are saying we want to take back our country. We want to, we want to be a part of this, scheme of things. We want to actually decide who's going to lead us. But then, I've seen that, speaking with you over time, you mentioned that it's not enough to just say we want to take back our country. It's not enough for people to be on social media to say we want to take back our country. Now, what would be your message to young people who are becoming alive to their responsibilities, especially civic responsibilities?
That I do not really feel comfortable that they're just becoming alive now, because young people started mobilizing, structuring Nigeria, by way of their dreams and aspirations since 1925 or thereabout. And they're the people that fought for independence. The guy who moved the motion for independence before 1960, I think it was 1957, Nahuru was 28 years old. Some of the most popular founders of Nigeria were in their 20s, mostly in their 30s. So the young people of today who are basically largely on social media should not feel that they are doing anything new. We should have been doing this a long time ago. When I first started fighting the military, I was in my 20s. I started at the age of 19. Today I'm 51 years old. Should I be proud that I'm not young anymore? I'm youthful. Should I be saying that at the age of 51 there's a big deal about my involvement in politics? No. So young people should have been doing this a long time ago. They should have been in charge of Nigeria by now. Yesterday I was watching at the UN the British Prime Minister, lady who just came in, and then they pan onto the faces of the people in the room, her entourage, and they're like, "Oh, this young guy." So if young people, the Prime Minister herself was born in 1975. I was born in 1971. The Prime Minister of UK, that's their economy is probably one of the greatest countries and the biggest country. I won't say greatest because of colonialism and slavery and their dirty past in history, but one of the biggest economies of the world was born in 1975. You that is born in maybe year 1999. You are not even there yet. You're only on Twitter. You're looking for followers. People are leading. And so we must take it seriously, such that we're not at this point saying young people are waking up. Young people should have woken up. And I'm proud of what happened with NSAS. I think that's the place where they tasted blood. But they can't afford to be complacent. You have to go out there and participate. It's not just about voting for people. You people should also be voted or be voting for yourselves. And that's very important. In 2019, there was a law signed in Nigeria, not too young, you know, and as soon as President Buhari was signing the law, he told them, please give me more time. By the time they gave him all the time, the young people that went to do not too young to run are no longer young 8 years later, right? Because they made that fundamental mistake of not starting right there. And by the way, why do you need a law to take back your country, signed by the people who are holding the country to ransom? So being young is not a license to perpetually feel like you're special if nothing has happened to change your objective conditions. I'm serious about it.
Let's talk about some of the people you're up against. In the elections in 2023, the people refer to as the big wigs, or the PDPs, the APCs, the Labour Party, which is quite recent, just gained popularity. And the likes of Atiku Abubakar, people who have been running for elections in this country since 1991 or so. 1992.
I ran as a student union president in 1992.
And today you're running
and
against
won.
him as
I won, and he ran as in the primaries against Abiola and lost. So I've known Atiku since 1992. Just to tell you how far all of us have come. But just permit me to call them big for nothing. You can continue with your questions.
This is radio.
It is radio.
But then looking at it, these parties have more money. They say they have structure. All of that. How do you intend to go about defeating these people at the elections? Shiwaju has been governor of Lagos State. He's gone ahead to also, according to people, make other kings, make governors of other people. How do you intend to run against such people?
So let me give you a little background to my life story. I've always been against powerful people. In fact, these people that you have now were less powerful than the people I was up against in 1992, 93, when we had to go against the military. They had the guns blazing. They had the ability to do whatever they want. They could turn daylight into night. But we were up against them for 10 years, and they were forced to relinquish power. And in those days, we were just ordinary students, bloody civilians, as they would love to call us in those days. So the structures we are talking about, they are transactional structures. They don't translate to anything other than collect money. What's this popular saying in Nigeria is called a rub bumper. I rub my back, I rub my back, you rub my back, I rub your back kind of politics. But you see, with all the conversation we're having about young people now, can't you see a shift in the structure politically? Because people are the ones who make political structures. Structures don't make people. And they are all sweating now. The Atikus Abubakars of this world, the Shiwaju Bola Tinubus of this world, who are running on records that they can't defend. They're all sweating. They're all sweating. They are sweating because their parties don't have any organic base, so they are falling apart. They don't have any records that can defend their own existence. These guys have been former governors, 2-term former governors. The 4 guys that I talked about frequently mentioned. They were former governors. There's a former governor of Kano State, 8 years, nothing. More out-of-school kids than anywhere else, I would imagine. Former governor of Anambra State, nothing to show for it.
How so? People would come for you for that.
People come for me all the time, but that doesn't erase the truth.
How so? Let's hear your arguments, because his supporters and himself have come to say, look, he was the only governor who left monies in the coffers of the state.
That's not true. That's not true.
He invested the state money. He also built schools, built
invested
hospitals,
state money
and roads
in his own private, in the company in which he has private interests. 2, 3, 4. Next supermarket is his family business. He uses the money of Anambra to invest in a brewery so that they can make money. That money is not his money. If you build schools with that money, we would have had serious, real return on investment by now. But what he did was to take $12 million, that's a lot of money, invest in a brewery in which he had private interest, And now the money has, deteriorated so seriously.
On account of the
It's not
foreign
only,
exchange.
and that's depreciated to $3 million. It's not foreign exchange. It was invested as foreign exchange. So if they were doing well, you make money. People who invest dollars are supposed to make. So it is the time that we are calculating ROI that it now became naira. Come on now. People think we're stupid when these things are happening. But beyond that, where is the schools that he built? Where are the roads that he built? None. None. So the same thing happened, it's the same thing for Tinubu in Lagos. I was in Lagos last week. If you rain for 2 hours in Lagos, if you are not a scuba diver, forget it. You can't go anywhere. What I mean by scuba, if you don't know how to swim. Um, the same goes for Atiku. He was vice president for 8 years. Since 1999 till they handed over, I think 2007. What did they achieve? Part of their legacy is ASU strike. So why do we keep celebrating failures in this country? So we need fresh ideas. We need younger people, people who are exposed, people who have real education. By the way, all these other people that I mentioned, they're all struggling with certificate standards now because nobody could tell where they went to school, who their classmates are. That tells you that the country has been going in the wrong direction, following the wrong people.
Peter Obi is running on certificate. His BSc is with the INEC. Atiku has an MSc. It's with the
BA.
INEC.
It could only be BA if you
Of
study
BA,
philosophy.
BA rather, and same for Ashwaju Bola
What-
Tinubu.
Where did that's where you go to primary school and secondary school?
I wouldn't know now.
Exactly. So how do you just jump from no secondary school certificate, no primary school certificate to PSC? Where does that happen? Something is wrong somewhere, and we should interrogate that. But you don't need to go too far. It is because all of it was shady at the inception and it will remain shady to the end of time. Real name not known, real age not known, real schools not known, and you want to lead 200 million people. And you are up against people like us, who are I have all my documents from the day the day I was born. My father wrote down, he privately wrote my birthday certificate, my secondary school GC. I even uploaded two, one that I failed, and the one that just to show the people that it's been remarkable improvement over time. But these other guys have nothing. They don't have certificates. Atiku is the same thing. He went from a diplomat to MSc. It's all what we call abracadabra.
We're going to move on. I don't know because when people school abroad, for instance, the system in the U.S. People can get the G good enough diploma, GED, and
GED is equivalent of
with that, and they could get a degree.
Well, GED is equivalent of you can get it. You can even get an associate degree, but it will be specified. Every educational process in the world are clear. Even if you went to school in China, there is, there are ladders. It's just like climbing a ladder. You cannot climb the ladder from the top. You can't suddenly have GED and then have masters and there's no BSc or BA. That's what we're talking about.
All right, the conversation continues. Joining with your 2 cents. If you have questions or comments to make, you want to ask Shari what questions you have for him as a presidential candidate, how he intends to better Nigeria or move the country forward if he becomes president. Joining 09073530044 and 09087668888. By the way, you should be commended. You're one of those who have submitted themselves to scrutiny by the public. Hello, good morning.
Yes, I agree to Mr. Sunday.
Mr. Sunday, good to have you join us.
Yes, I like showing you my friend and we have spoken well. But presidency is not a case you come from and satisfy one. You need to show your popularity in the state. I would have loved after 2019. Surely would have gone to state to contest governorship election or possible secretariat district election. So gather his popularity, test his popularity if truly he has what it takes to, if people from the states will accept him, people coming to the center, so that all these things will account to him as a team. Because now he's really criticizing those that become a governor for April. And he has never covered a local government where Nigeria can access him and say, this is the area we have done, and this is the place we have performed, this is how far we have done. So he would have started from somewhere. Remember in 2007 when Roger Mukwege was contesting as long Obasanjo. Obasanjo, you are too small to come to the national line, go back to your state. If your people accept you, then you start from somewhere. So I'm not sure they would have gone back to state. Start from somewhere, either from local government chairman or state or federal house of assembly, senate or governor, so that you test his popularity there. If you win an election there, that is the effect them. Then that's to say the people of the state have accepted it. Before coming to the center, because we don't have anywhere to assess his performance where he has support. Those are our terms. He's busy there, fighting them. And we don't have anywhere to hold him. That's the area he has done well or failed well. So if I'm to advise Mr. Showore, he has been an advocate that has been trying, human rights activist, but presidency are not for children. I advise him to go back and start from the state. From there, we can know it.
Mr. Sunday, how do you call a 51-year-old man children? I don't get that. Please let's keep our comments as civil as possible. But people, that question quite valid. He says there's nowhere that people can assess your capacity to lead as president if you haven't led before.
Leaders are chosen based on their own chosen area of competence. I never believed in politics for a long time. My own politics was activism, and I performed excellently well as a testified, as an advocate, as someone who believed in human rights, as someone who believed in democracy. If at the age of 22, I could be one of the people upon whose shoulders rested the desire for democracy in Nigeria, and I delivered very well some 8 years later to the point that 1999 we had democracy. I was one of the few people that went to prison for it. I was one of the few people that was expelled from the university. We did street marches. It's just like saying to someone that because Mandela never governed a local government or a state, is not qualified to be president of South Africa after spending 27 years in prison. Or even Obama. Obama did not govern a state. He came from Illinois. He even failed, to win an election as a House of Assembly member. And then after he gave a speech, he became a senator for a few months and later became president and one of the best. So when countries are looking for leaders, they are not looking for failed leaders who have terrible experience. I'll give you an example. The current president of Nigeria could have been the most experienced human being in the history of the country. He governed what used to be 3 states in the history of Nigeria, PDF under Abuja. And then became president again. He became head of state. He was head of state, military head of state, and then he became president again. Well, look at where his experience left us. The same thing with former President Abuja. He should have had enough experience. He couldn't go into prison. But what did he do for Nigeria? And if his assertion were to be true, why is it that every governor did not become president? Only 2 governors have become president of Nigeria before. That was Yaradua and Jonathan. If you look at Jonathan, he wasn't really a governor. He was a deputy governor who became governor by accident. And then vice president who became president by accident and then became president by election. So when people make these assertions, it's just baffling, until, like you said, it's calling me a child at the age of, 51. This is just ridiculous.
We're bringing another caller joining us. Remember to keep your comments as civil as possible. Engage with the issues, and it will be good. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Taking Bay. Good to have you.
Yeah, good morning to my comrade, my author, and my mentor in the house, Mr. Showore.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Taking Bay.
I happen to know about Showore during his, arrest, detention. And the time I listened to him speak after this must be someone that has something to offer, someone that has something upstairs. And as a foreign then, he is passionate about the Nigerian people, he is passionate about the Nigeria as a country, and is passionate about the African people, when you listen to him talk, and is passionate about the well-being of Nigeria. Because I think someone like Mr. Sowore, he has enough food to eat. If it is not that we want other people to live well, he will not be fighting today. I don't think someone knows that the house today, but he's fighting today because he wants other Nigerians to live well. So, I don't want to commend him. And then, I have to say that my problem is that when I hear people talk and I believe in them, but when they go into government conflict, it's like evil spirit that will take over some people. They will not stick to their promises. Now, they will not do what they have said they will do. Like when I have some people say they will make dollar, 1 naira to dollar. They will make people 40 naira. They will pay all the graduates. They will not see in 7 years. So you have that. And when you ask them, they will even deny. So the question I want to ask you this morning is that what will you do differently when you get to power? And secondly, now in the issue of the concept of my thing, one person will be ahead to actually more than 100 billion. What will you do to stop corruption? Thank you very much.
All right. His response to that quickly.
Without having any power, I'm answering the last question now. With no official power, you can point to me as one individual that has fought corruption even more than all the anti-corruption agencies combined together. Since 2006, with Sahara reporters, I cannot count how many thieves, political thieves, that I had used the platform to catch. And some of them ended up being arrested, being tried. It's not my duty to ensure that they get jailed, because a lot of them also got away, because before the trials are concluded, the witnesses would have disappeared. Some of them would have recanted. But I've done so much work in the anti-corruption area that you don't have to doubt that if I didn't have official power, it would be a walk in the park. But here is what people should know, that this is why I said integrity is more important than the useless experience of these political leaders. And I'll keep criticizing them. I must keep scrutinizing them. If practically run this country down and its people and their dignity over the years, strip everybody naked, there's no point for us to keep sugarcoating how much this country has been destroyed. So he's saying that people go into office make promises. Well, I'm not part of those people, and I resisted any attempt to even join government in my entire life. And this is to people who say, oh, maybe some people promise you anything. No, I've never been interested in public office on the level, or those levels where people get appointed. Otherwise, I would have worked with Jonathan when he invited me to join his government through a guy known as Toronto Douglas, who is now late. And several other governments have approached me, even when I was younger. I was approached with car gifts, money, and all that, and I rejected, and I still do, and I've challenged people. If I've ever been involved in those things, nobody has come out. So, yes, the problem with the people in Nigeria who vie for office and make promises is that, honestly, most of the time, they are not talking, they are not speaking to us. But you go and vote for them regardless. Look at this regime. How many times did you hear Buhari promise anything to you? Honestly. And it's the same mistake we are making now. We are listening to those people who are not campaigning and not listening to those of us who are campaigning. I'm in this station today. I came in the rain. I'm talking to you. I'm not saying that, oh, you are too small. But the other candidates, especially the ones we call major candidates, most of them have not had a single interview since this election cycle started. And most of them are not going to be interviewed. They don't have anything to tell you. But regardless, you keep calling them top 3, top 2, and the people that are top to you are the people who are not campaigning, who are not making any promises. Those of us who are making promises, who have integrity, who have a known history of resilience and resistance against liars, you come and question us, you are too small, you're a child, and it is a child that is managing France at the age of 32. It's a child that's Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at the age of 40-something. Obama was President of the U.S. JF Kennedy was President of the U.S. at the age of 39. So a lot of young people are managing the world, but you are more comfortable with voting for your ancestors. And then when the chips are down, you now be looking for SOWORE to become an advocate, Shoyinka to become an advocate. Where is Falana? But when they present themselves, like Gani did in 2003, you say that they have no experience. But you keep voting for the experienced tips. Good luck to you.
When the going is good,
Yes.
people come around you. But when the chips are down, they all run away. The conversation continues. Keep it with us. Well done.
No, that's all. Let's keep charging.
And yes, when things go good, when things are going on well, everybody seems to be on your side. When it feels like it's not working so much, they tend to run away. That's William Oyabo there with the song "When the Going is Smooth and Good." My guest this morning is Omoyele Shori, human rights activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, joining us and sharing thoughts with us this morning on the issues and how he intends to do things when he becomes president. And looking at the campaigns kicking off in a few days from now, how prepared they are. You too can be a part of this conversation, ask questions, and engage the presidential candidate. Call 09073530044 and 09087668888. Now, Mr. Shori, we're going to be speaking to the issues now. Nigeria is economically not doing well. It's a terrible time for the economy. Inflation going up. Unemployment rates really high. All that stuff. Exchange rate is something. Is not nothing to write home about. How do you intend to fix this if you become president?
You see, Nigeria is suffering from years of neglect and the right kind of investment that we also have made. When we had an oil boom, and you cannot escape it when you mismanage your economy over time. There's no way these indices will not come and be staring you in the face. And part of the problem is what we're all faced with now with regards to the educational sector, for instance, where you shut down your universities for 8 months practically over a conversation regarding investment in the higher institutions of the country. And instead of resolving it, you are going around, looking for judges to help you intimidate lecturers to go back. And the question I asked on Twitter, if your lecturers go back, are they going back on empty stomach? It's people who have not had their salaries paid for 7 months, and you get a judge to give you an order to go back to work. The judge ought to have also given an order to everybody selling eba and fufu and soup in the country to give them free food so that they can go back to school. But to just stay away from that for a moment, my solutions to bring back the economy is to industrialize. And when they say industrialization, you cannot do the right investment in power in particular. Because, yes, most of the time we want to talk about security. Security is a symptom of the bigger problem of inability to produce anything. The value of the naira is likely because of two major things. One, our macroeconomic policies are not being handled the right way, but by the right people. For instance, the exchange rate for the naira is more than one, depending on the connections that you have. And when that is happening, you just having your macroeconomic policies managed by money changers. You can never stabilize the naira. The naira will never have value. Also, until you start producing something that can be sold in the country. This country is importing virtually everything, including toothpicks. So, what we call our foreign exchange, our, yes, our foreign bank account, the earnings we have, uh, it's just the collateral for the rich because they are the ones importing everything, and you need this backup out there instead of investing at home so that they can keep enjoying the luxury of life that they have chosen for themselves. The rest of us will just be scrapping the bottom of the pot, and that needs to change by way of production. And you cannot industrialize or produce if you don't have power or what we call energy. You cannot be producing miserable 3,000, 4,000 megawatts of electricity in a country that is in need of 62,000 megawatts of electricity. And when you even have 7,000, you don't have the transmission capacity to do more than 3,000. And you're there complaining that, oh, the economy is not working. So massive investment in public works, massive investment in the energy sector, in the educational sector, in the agricultural sector will bring back a Nigeria where people can find jobs. It will bring back a Nigeria where people can produce and we can be selling something to the rest of the world that will make our currency worth it. Otherwise, we just here deceiving ourselves. And I'm saying that it is those of us who understand how the world works that can do it. Not all this World Bank and IMF economics who will come and tell you every year that you need to tighten your belt. My father tightened his belt, my grandfather tightened his belt, I'm tightening my belt, my children are tightening our belts. But the rich people in this country, are not tightening their belts.
When this administration leaves office in 2023, they said that they would be leaving behind around over $60 trillion in debt. Now, how do you intend to source this funds to do these massive investments that you're talking about?
See, debts are not particularly bad if you have an understanding of how the world works. What Nigeria is having the biggest problem with is debt to revenue ratio. Our debt to GDP ratio is actually very low. I mean, not very, very low, but fairly lower than most of the countries around us on the continent of Africa. So it is that revenue that I'm targeting immediately, including stopping all these thieves who are stealing 700,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis from this country. 700,000 barrels of oil is not a bucket of water. Yes, and this thing is being done at the highest level. So you have an NPC that doesn't drop a dime for the last 7 months or so, but they are buying jets. They are able to fund all kinds of extravagant lifestyle of the political leaders and all the politically exposed persons. Like I like to say, which I've been quoted saying recently, that the NNPC is the first part of Nigeria to secede. Because they're just on their own. It's a government within a government. And you have to bring them back so that you can be getting the revenue that belongs to Nigeria. So now you go and privatize it. You say it's a company, something that belongs to the whole country is now registered by a few people. That has legal implications. So there are a lot of places that, loopholes that can be plugged. The other time we're talking about 54,000 workers, fake workers in the country, ghost workers that were weeded out by IPPIS. That's just in the in the federal sector, in the federal government, civil service. What about the police? What about the states? And several other spaces around the country that things are being mismanaged. And I think, it's not that I think, I know that we do not have competent hands managing the most sensitive sectors of our economy. If they mention to you people who are managing revenue, accruing agencies in the country, you'll be shocked. There are people who just sit down there and just allocated money to themselves. And they turn around and they sort the rest of us that the money was taken by a snake, a cockroach someday. And I don't know the last animal that stole money in Nigeria, the monkey. It's just how these people don't respect us.
It's that's the last one.
Yes,
now let's look at insecurity, which is one of the biggest issues Nigerians have to grapple with as Nigerians. Insecurity is biting hard, and they say it seems like the president who was a former military personnel, who should have known how to tackle this, promised to tackle it within 6 months and all, came in and really couldn't solve the problem. How would a civilian who probably hasn't had military intelligence or military knowledge and all or skill be able to tackle insecurity. As a person who's planning to be president of this country, how do you intend to, solve the security problem?
That's what I was addressing earlier, the issue of experience. People, that's why when people throw around the word experience this, experience that. It's just like, it's ridiculous. You don't need a military general to lead a country to curb insecurity if you understand where insecurity comes from. Insecurity comes from inequality. That's number one source of insecurity in Nigeria. People are always available to take on any criminal activity that can help them survive because they have no employment, they have poor education. There are 20 million kids in this country that are out of school. In another 10 years, 20 years, you're going to have a different level of insecurity on your hands because you didn't send them to school. But don't forget that with the minimalist education system we have here, the UK, US, and Canada just came and took over 8,000 doctors away from us after COVID. If we didn't train them, where would they get the doctors from? And we're saying, look, make the investment right now. Take those 20 million kids out of the street. Give them whatever education you can afford them, even if it's done under a tree. Let there be education, because otherwise, we are going to pay for the cost of ignorance down the line. That's where insecurity came from. And this economic inequality, where some have too much and some others have nothing, is always going to be a cause of insecurity. So to solve the problem of insecurity, you must have three different strategies put in place at once. First is the immediate problem, to ensure that you arrest the situation, whatever you can throw at all this, if necessary, bringing in, as I typically would say, even though I'm not proud of it, if you have to bring in mercenaries, bring them in to stop them. And then subsequently start building real security agencies in the country. I have been complaining about the role of the police. 350,000 policemen, all of them are guarding empty houses in Asokoro. You go in front of the house, 6 policemen with 6 AK-47. The rest of us,
we have a caller. We have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Yes, my friend, this is yes, sorry back.
Quickly, please.
Yes, I've been listening to your guest, my brother and my mentor, for sure. You see,
Quickly.
I'm worried now. When you talk about becoming a president, but I don't have any problem with that, because this show is over on side to become Nigeria president. The same way someone like Peter would be, but I'm worried that when you don't have governors, you don't have senators, you don't have House of Representatives, and you're a president under your party, and you are just a president. Do you think they will not frustrate you? Do you think you will succeed?
Okay. All right. Quickly, let's respond to that, and then we'll
Thank you,
close.
my brother. I appreciate that particular question. You see, I'm of a revolutionary mind, and my position is that the job of the president is so important that you cannot worry about who is elsewhere. Everybody, if I'm president of Nigeria, I present my blueprint to the Nigerian people on how I want to solve and tackle their problem. Let some 109 people in the Senate say, oh, you don't have a right to provide employment. You think the Nigerian people will just be watching and say, okay, yes, they are holding us to ransom, 109 of them. That's so sad. We are helpless. If you're a good president, the Senate will go with you. The US at the time had a president from the Democratic Party. Majority of the members are from the Republican Party. They agree on things that will work for the country. And I expect the same thing. I will carry them along because they are paid to be in those positions. An average senator that is collecting 14 million naira a month should not stop a project or a program or policies that will take 200 and something million people out of poverty.
Okay, we have a question here on WhatsApp. It says, good morning to you and your guest. My question is, how can he tackle the issue of Nigeria Police and contributory pension scheme when elected president? So you sent that one in. How do you respond?
It's not SARS. Well, how do you allow people, the Nigeria police, how do you allow civilians to be stealing your pension? I cannot tell you how much has been stolen from the police contributory pension scheme, because it's not designed to work for the police. What we should do is to take it away from all these elements who are running them as their own personal ATM or piggy banks, and make it work like pension schemes in which your contributions are transparently made, transparently invested, and when you retire from the police, the day you retire, we don't need to be asking you to come and fill paperwork. It's automated. Your pension scheme, your pension is getting to you, so that you don't suffer so much. But see, on a more serious scale, I have said it. I have a special program for the police, even though they've broken my nose and beaten me up and roughing me up my entire life. No policeman carrying an AK-47 in any country should be any less than 250,000 naira. You should be earning as much as a banker that you are protecting with your life. Yes.
Omoyele Sowore, human rights activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress (AAC). Thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for bringing
with us. And to everyone who's been a part of it, thank you for being there. My name is Ikenna Chopras. I'm really sorry the phone lines have been going off. We couldn't take some of your calls because we needed to address the issues. Thank you so much for being there, and we hope to engage some more with Omoyele Sowore as the campaigns officially kick off. Thank you again for being here, and to all of you, thank you for being